everybody, so today I want to share with you guys how to make this tea tree charcoal facial soap. It smells absolutely amazing, so let's get started. So the first thing you need is some kind of heat safe container, and you want to weigh out 255 grams of coconut oil. This is 76-degree coconut oil. Then you want to weigh out 113 grams of shea butter, and you want to melt everything down using a microwave or a double boiler. Then I grabbed another heat-safe container and measured out 28 grams of beeswax. I don't really know why I didn't add the beeswax to the coconut oil and shea butter, so you can definitely do that. So I don't know why I did it separate. And I'm using beeswax to help harden the bar soap, that way it's not as soft, because I'm using 10% super fat in this recipe. And just like with the coconut oil and shea butter, you want to melt the beeswax down. Then I'm grabbing another container and I'm measuring out my oils. First, I'm measuring out 255 grams of olive oil, 113 grams of almond oil, 198 grams of castor oil, and then I realized this needs to be in a heat-proof container as well. So I poured my oils in a glass container, that way I can heat these oils up as well. And then I grabbed a plastic container to measure out my lye. So in this recipe, you want to use sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is used to make bar soap. Potassium hydroxide is for liquid soap. So grab your sodium hydroxide, and you want to wear some gloves, protective goggles, a mask, a long sleeve shirt, and you want to weigh out 124.25 grams of your sodium hydroxide. Make sure you're being really safe when working with this stuff. It can be dangerous, but you don't need to be scared of it. You might be a little worried the first time you work with it, but afterwards it gets really easy. Just be very careful with it. Then I'm grabbing another plastic container and measuring out my distilled water. I measured out 158.73 grams of distilled water, then 158.73 grams of glycerin. If you want, you can use just all water if you don't have glycerin, but I like to use a little bit of glycerin as well. So then you want to grab your sodium hydroxide and you want to pour the sodium hydroxide into the water. Never do it the other way around. You can cause an explosion, so just make sure you're pouring the sodium hydroxide in the water. And you want to do this in a well-ventilated room because a little bit of fumes can let off of this stuff, so just make sure you have a well-ventilated room. Go outside, whatever you need to do. Just mix everything together until the sodium hydroxide completely dissolves. So as your lye is chilling out, go ahead and grab your shea butter and your coconut oil, and you want to add in 2 teaspoons of honey. This part is optional, you don't have to, but I wanted a little bit of honey in my soap. So after I mix together the honey, this is when you want to combine your fragrance and your charcoal powder with some kind of oil to make it easier to incorporate into the recipe. So I began by measuring out just 10 grams of olive oil, and then I measured out about 3 tablespoons of charcoal powder. Okay, honestly, I didn't really measure it. I just put 3 spoonfuls and then mixed in with the oil, and I noticed it wasn't really dissolving. So I ended up adding 20 more grams of olive oil, so I ended up adding a total of 30 grams of olive oil. Mixed everything together, it dissolved very well. So then afterwards, I grabbed a different scale that measures in like a smaller amount of grams. I don't really know how to explain it, but basically, I ended up grabbing my tea tree oil and I ended up adding 21 grams of tea tree oil. I just wanted to use a more precise scale to make sure I wasn't going over, I don't know. Yeah, whatever. So I incorporated the tea tree oil in, and now it is time to combine all of your ingredients. Just make sure all of your ingredients are within about 10 to 15 degrees within each other because they just need to be when you're making soap. So I poured in my shea butter, coconut oil, and honey mixture, my beeswax, all of my carrier oils, and then I grabbed my stick blender and then just slowly poured my lye mixture over top of my stick blender, to kind of prevent any bubbles, and just do the best to prevent bubbles from forming, but it'll probably happen anyways. Just be careful. And then just give your soap mixture a couple little pulses with your immersion blender, and I don't know if you can tell, but this thickened up so quick. So I hurried up and grabbed my charcoal and tea tree oil mixture and poured that into the soap. So I know what I did wrong. I am an impatient person. I hate waiting. So I didn't wait for all my oils and lye to cool down. So I combined them at around 130 degrees, which was not a good idea because it caused the soap to saponify way too fast. But I'm just using molds and I'm just doing a solid color soap, so I didn't think it would be that big of a deal. But if you're going to be making this recipe, make sure everything is room temperature, or at least lower than 100 degrees. But anyways, as you can tell, I am just filling up my little rectangle molds and then slamming it down on the counter just to sort of flatten out everything. And then I grabbed these little rose molds, and by the way, I made double the amount I intended to make. I really only wanted to make 6 bars, but I screwed up my math and I made way more. But anyways, as you can tell, like these bars are like all like floppy and like just ugly looking on the top. So I ended up grabbing this piece of cardboard and you know, you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm just sliding it across, getting off any excess on the top, and it really smoothed out the bars on the top. And then I am just cleaning out the lining of my mold, and yeah, that's how I got them to look more better. More better. That's a very, very good explanation. How I made them look better on the top instead of all just gross and stuff. So as you can see, I'm doing it to the rose molds over here and then just cleaning up the edges. But yeah, so I had a little bit more soap left, so I made these two little Hello Kitty bar soaps as well, and you know, just cleaned around the edges, and yay, I used it all up. So I just cleaned off my workspace. Then I grabbed a little bit of plastic and put it over top of my molds to prevent any soda ash or, you know, just anything else from getting into the molds. And yeah, so you want to wait about 24 hours. I recommend waiting the full 24 hours and take the plastic off the soap. And then you can pop your little bars of soap out of their molds, and they hardened up awesomely. They turned out exactly as I wanted it. The only thing I wish I would have done is just, you know, not have the soap be super thick when I poured them in the molds, because the shape wasn't really perfect. The shape, I know it's not perfect. It could have been perfect if I would have waited for the soap to cool down, but you know, I'm an impatient person, so I accepted it. They still look cool and they still work as soap, and it's not like I'm selling them or anything. One more thing, when you're making bar soap, you need to let them sit for about 4 weeks after you make them. That way all the lye has dissolved out of them. So let me know if you're gonna be trying it, or you know, just let me know if you just had fun watching this, because you don't need to make it, you can just enjoy watching me make it. So one more thing, as I mentioned in every single one of my videos, I do sell all natural skincare products over in my Etsy shop. I don't sell bar soap, but who knows, maybe one day. I don't think I'm skilled enough to sell it. I'm still a beginner and I just mainly do it for fun and for YouTube videos because you guys seem to love them. So I do hope you guys have a great week, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!
I'm stuck in the motions. I've been consumed by the wrath of time, like I'm frozen. I'm shattered in this life. It's still the path that I've chosen. Because I've had a vision, now I'm on a mission to find myself.